Hi, I'm Dr. Anadale, and this video deals with chapters 4 and 5 of Daniel Sullivan's book, Introduction to Philosophy. We're dealing here with the time of the Peloponnesian War. For 20 years, Athens and Sparta contend for dominance of the Greek world. Athens loses this war in 404 BC and never regains its political prominence. 5 years after the war ends, Socrates is tried, convicted, and executed by his fellow Athenians. We'll come to that later. During and after the war, though, the Sophists plied their trade in Athens and other Greek cities. The Sophists were a loose group of itinerant teachers who traveled from city to city with no fixed home. This would immediately raise the suspicion of many Greek authorities because it suggests that they have no loyalty to any one particular city, but are simply out to make as much money as they can before they move on to the next location. We would contrast this with the life of Socrates, which we see is a life spent entirely in Athens. Socrates mentions this in his defense at his trial. The Sophists taught the art of argument, which was especially valuable in the law courts and in the democratic assembly of a city like Athens. They taught how to win without regard for the truth. The main selling point of training with a sophist is they teach the art of persuasion and victory in argument, regardless of whether the facts are for you or against you. They were highly sought after because this seemed to be a path to money and power. But they were also expensive, and so they ended up teaching mainly the sons of wealthy and prominent citizens. So if you fast forward after a generation or so of this type of instruction, the young men of Athens had become corrupt. They did not think about right and wrong in their actions, in private or in public in the political assembly of Athens, but only about how to manipulate laws and people for their own personal advantage. Socrates was often mistaken for a sophist. In fact, he deals with that charge in his trial, as we'll see, and he is caught up in the reaction against the corruption of the sophists' teachings. Chapter 5 deals with Socrates and his teachings. Socrates wrote nothing. He was, like Buddha and Jesus, solely an oral teacher. Writings came afterwards. Things were written down by his followers, including most especially Plato. His main doctrines include the doctrine that virtue is a type of knowledge. Socrates thought that to be good means to know something. The person who is virtuous or good must know something that the evil person or the bad person is ignorant of. So Socrates thought of virtue and moral improvement in terms of education and gaining knowledge about a virtue. So for Socrates, in order to become more courageous, I would need to learn something about the virtue of courage. I would need to learn when to be afraid and when not to be afraid. Once I knew that rule, I would become a more courageous person. So an increase in knowledge would be matched by an increase in virtue. Socrates was interested in human excellence in all areas of life. He wanted to know what made an excellent shoemaker, an excellent blacksmith, and an excellent navigator. He also wanted to know what knowledge these experts in these different fields had. That was the basis of their success and their excellence. And so he was further convinced that living an excellent human life depended upon having accurate and expert knowledge of the virtues. It's important to remember that Socrates marks a turn in philosophy away from inquiry into nature and number, as we saw in a previous chapter, towards an inquiry into the moral world, the human world, the world of virtues and vices, of human decisions and ethical behavior. Socrates is not interested in the motion of the stars or in what the sun and the moon are made of. He's not interested in topics that we would classify today as science. His main area of interest is what we would today call ethics, which is still a part of philosophy. He wants to know how to live a good life and what kinds of knowledge of the virtues would go towards that. So that's the main focus of his inquiry. That's my commentary on chapters 4 and 5. I look forward to discussing these and other issues with you on the discussion board soon. Goodbye.